students, this is a demonstration video on the cervical vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae, they form the skeleton of the neck along with the hide bone. While the skull, we have seen that it forms the skeleton of the head region, and cervical vertebral column along with the hide bone forms the skeleton of the neck. Now there are 7 cervical vertebrae which articulates with each other, at the body and the facet joints to form the vertebral column, cervical part of the vertebral column. Now this cervical part of the vertebral column is highly mobile, most mobile than any other part of the vertebral column. Thoracic is least mobile, then comes the abdomen, which can show the flexion and extension, while then there is the other part of the vertebral column, cervix, sacrum and coccyx, they are the fixed, with the no movements. So the cervical part of the vertebral column is highly mobile. And if you see the cervical part of the vertebral column in the lateral view X-ray, then it will show the convexity anteriorly. Convexity anteriorly. Let us see this cervical part of the vertebral column in this book. Now this is a dissector. The manual, dissection manual by Thieme, and it is this part, that is head and neck and brain part, is authored by me. I am thankful to the Thieme for using this diagram from this. So you can see here that these are the 7 cervical vertebrae which are forming the vertebral column or the cervical vertebral column, and it is convex anteriorly. This is the anterior aspect, this is the posterior aspect of the vertebral column, and there is a slight convex curvature. Right. Let us see the typical feature of a cervical. How you will identify a cervical vertebrae and will differentiate it from any other vertebrae. The most important point which you should immediately look into vertebra to know whether it comes from cervical region or not is the presence of the foramina transversarium. Foramina transversarium means the foramina in the transverse process. See this foramina? Now this is the transverse process, and within the transverse process there will be the foramina if it is present, which and transverse process will lie by the side of the vertebral body. So this is the body of the vertebra, and on its side you will get the foramina. And if it is there, no doubt it will be only the cervical vertebrae. It cannot be thoracic, it cannot be lumbar, though there are other differentiating points. But then you should note that foramina transversorium is characteristic feature of the cervical. You can see this is C1, C2, C3, C4, 5, 6 and 7. Cervical vertebrae are here, and though they are not coming from the same body, so their size may be little different, may be different, but these are the 7 cervical vertebrae. Now out of these 7 cervical vertebrae, if you will see all these in a glance, you will see that this is something looking different, this is also looking different, then this with the horizontal spinous process, this is also a long process, it is also looking different, while the rest of the 4 vertebrae, that is 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, they almost are resembling to one another. So they are thus classified into 2 categories. The first category is the vertebra which have their own characteristic, which do not resemble from the any other vertebrae. Any other vertebrae. First has its own characteristic, second has its own, and 7th has its own characteristic, while the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, they have the common characteristic. The size may differ, but they will have the same characteristic. Thus the cervical vertebra are divided in 2 groups. Number 1 group is group of atypical cervical vertebrae. If you are noting in your notebook, keep on noting. Atypical cervical vertebrae is number 1, C1. Then atypical is C2. Then atypical is C3. And then not C3, C7. Atypical is C7. And then typical is C3, C4, C5 and C6. And why they are called as typical? Because their characteristic, their features, morphological features, they resemble to each other. Okay. So we will first learn about the features of a typical cervical vertebrae, and if we will learn of any one of the 4, okay, this will be similar in all others. So first I will tell you the typical feature of a typical cervical vertebrae, and then we will compare it with the atypical. So I am just keeping it aside. I will just take here a typical cervical vertebrae. Okay, a typical cervical vertebrae here. Let us see this vertebra. Okay. This is a typical cervical vertebra, and like any other vertebra, thoracic, lumbar, cervical or sacral vertebrae, it consists of the 2 parts. This part is body. If you are drawing the rough diagram, keep on drawing the rough diagram. This is the body of the cervical vertebrae, okay? And the rest of the part here, these are called as the neural arch or the vertebral arch. And the vertebral body here, if you will see, it is small as compared to thoracic, as compared to the lumbar, which is very large, okay? Now this body is almost rectangular in shape, okay, rectangular. That means its anteroposterior diameter is less as compared to its side to side diameter. So it looks as a rectangular body, while in thoracic it will look heart shaped, in lumbar it will look kidney shaped and very large, okay. Now the second part of this typical vertebrae cervical is the vertebral arch, and this vertebral arch is formed by the pedicle and lamina. See, this is the pedicle. Okay, this is the bar of the bone which comes out from posterolateral aspect. This is the anterior aspect, this is the posterior, this is the right lateral, and this is the left lateral side. So this bar of the bone which is coming out from posterolateral aspect of the body is the pedicle, okay, strong bone, okay, it is the pedicle. So right pedicle and the left pedicles are seen here. Second part of the vertebral arch is, this is called as the lamina. This is the lamina. You can see if I turn this and you see it from posterior aspect, this is the lamina, and the lamina of the right side and the left side, they meet in the midline and they give a projection here, or a process comes out, and this is called as the spinous process, okay. This is called as spinous process. Now between the body and the vertebral arch, this was the body, and this is pedicle and lamina on right and left side, they form the vertebral arch. You are seeing a big triangular foramina, okay. This is the vertebral foramina. This is called as the which after articulations of this successive vertebrae above and below, this vertebral foramina will form a canal which is called as the vertebral canal, okay. And this foramina, vertebral foramina, which is present between body and arch here in the cervical region, is quite large, okay, and almost triangular. Why it is large? Because the pedicles, they are directed backwards and laterally. Suppose if pedicle would have been directed directly backward, then this foramina would have been small, but they are directed backwards and laterally, giving a large foramina between the vertebral arch and that of the body, okay, body. And through this vertebral foramina passes the spinal cord and meninges, okay, along with the blood vessels, and now I will say this venous plexus, okay. Now let us see the arch. Arch consists of various processes, okay, that is pedicle and lamina, At the junction of pedicle and lamina, there are the four processes are seen, and these are called as articular process, where I am putting the tip of my pencil. This is the left articular process, and this is the right articular process. Okay, I'm sorry, this is the left articular process and this is the right articular process. As they are projecting upward, this is the superior articular process. Okay, and if you will turn it upside down, then you can see at the same point at the junction of the pedicle and this lamina, this articular process, they are called as the inferior articular process. Okay, now then question come, how you will identify which is the superior aspect of cervical typical vertebrae and which is the inferior aspect. For that, you can just see that on the lateral margin of the body there comes the projection which is directed upward. Okay, just if you can see here, yes, this is the projections which are coming upward. They are coming from the lateral margin of the body. Okay, uncinate process. And if they are on the lateral side projecting upward, that is the superior surface. When you will keep it on the inferior surface of the vertebrae, this is not showing that projection from the lateral margin. The projection comes from anterior and posterior margin. That you should keep in mind. Okay, that, and then you will be able to identify the side. A second clue to identify the superior surface and differentiate it from inferior surface is the articular facets. Okay, there are in the superior articular process a smooth area is present which is called as articular surface or articular facet, because it articulates with the inferior articular process of the upper vertebrae, and the superior articular facets, they are directed backwards. Okay, they are directed, but if you will see the inferior articular facet, they are directed towards the body. They are directed, that is wrong. That means they are directed anteriorly. They should be directed in posterior direction. This is second clue how you will identify a superior surface of cervical vertebrae, because sometimes students they keep it like this. That means inferior surface is facing upward. That is wrong. Okay, that is wrong. So there are four articular process, two superior and two inferior at the junction of pedicle and that of the lamina. Okay, then from by the side of the body there comes out the right and left transverse process, and I told you that within this transverse process there is presence of foramina, what is called as foramina transversarium or transverse process, foramina of transverse process in easy language, and this gives passage to the vertebral artery, right and left vertebral artery. It passes from a typical vertebra, okay, through the foramina transversorium of the typical vertebra. Now then, spinous process is very small in a typical cervical vertebrae, and if you can see it here, this tip of the cervical vertebrae will have the two tubercle. It is called as bifid tubercle, okay, or bifid spinous process. The tip is bifid, that means it has two tubercle, okay, separated into two tubercle tip, hence small and having the bifid spinous process. Very short and will show the two tubercle. That is the a typical cervical vertebrae, and features of all this will resemble to the remaining three. So the third, fourth, fifth and sixth, they are typical cervical vertebrae. Let's me come now to the first, and we are coming to the group which is called as atypical cervical vertebrae. It is called atypical cervical, and we come to the C1, that is the cervical first vertebrae. This is called as atlas, and this is identified very easily because it is ring shape. Okay, it is a ring shaped structure. That's why it is easy. That why it is ring shaped, because there is no body. Okay, and second identification point is that if you will measure the distance between the tip of the two transverse process, right and left, it is the widest vertebra. It is the widest vertebra. Now it has two lateral masses. Okay, this is the right lateral mass and the left lateral mass. Thus, two lateral masses, they are joined by the bony arch. This is called as the anterior arch, and the larger one is the posterior arch. Okay, the larger one. So this will be helpful in identifying the anterior aspect and the posterior aspect of the atlas vertebra. This is anterior because the anterior arch is very small as compared to the posterior arch, which is curved. Okay, here it may be straight. So this is a small anterior arch and a large posterior arch is there. Just keep the vertebra anterior and posterior in correct direction. Correct now. Now each lateral mass has a superior articular facet and an inferior articular facet. How then you will differentiate? This is the inferior surface and this is the superior surface of atlas vertebra. Most of the student, they just keep or hold in their hand this vertebra upside down. Okay, you should always keep a vertebra or any bone or any part organ always in anatomical position. Okay, so this you have to differentiate that superior articular facet is obliquely elongated. See this? And it shows the concavity upward. So it is concave because it articulates with the convex occipital condyles of the skull to form the atlanto-occipital joint. Atlanto-occipital. And since the occipital condyle of skull, they are convex, this has to be concave. This has to be concave. So the concave articular facet of the atlas or first cervical vertebra should always be kept upward, facing superiorly. While on other hand, this facet, which are the inferior articular facet, they are almost oval and flat. They are almost oval and flat, not concave or convex. That is the difference. Okay, so all the concave facets should always face upward, and this concave, articular flat facet of the inferior articular facet, they articulate with the superior articular facet of the second vertebra to form what is called as atlanto-axial joint. So the joint between the second and first is the atlanto-axial joint. It is not closely fitting because they are from two different body. Otherwise it should closely fit. Okay, atlanto-axial joint. Axial means second cervical. Okay, vertebrae. Okay, now this lateral mass have the this masses, right and left lateral masses, which are these two lateral mass. This is called as lateral mass, where superior and inferior articular facets are present. Okay, lateral to it is the presence of the transverse process, and transverse process is having only one tubercle on lateral side, right? And what you will see that there is a foramina transversorium in this transverse process also. Okay, this, and I said that if you will measure the distance between the tip of the transverse process, this is the widest of all the vertebrae. Cervical, all the cervical vertebrae. Okay, now then there may be a groove. This is the foramina transversorium, which will give passage to that of the vertebral artery, which will come posteriorly and wind around the lateral mass to go into the this vertebral foramina. Okay, then it will go up to go through the foramina magnum. Okay, of the skull, right? So this may be a transverse, a groove seen posterior to the lateral mass. Okay, now this completes the first cervical vertebrae. Okay, let us come to the second cervical vertebrae, which is also called as the axis, and it is identifies very easy. Identification of this vertebra is very easy because in the first there was no body, but here is a body, but seen only on the inferior aspect. On its superior aspect, from the body there is a tooth-like projection. Okay, a conical projection is projecting upward, which in no other cervical vertebrae is seen. So this is called as odontoid process or the dance. So with the presence of this odontoid process or dance, this vertebra is very easily identified. You cannot make mistake in identification of first and in identification of the second cervical vertebrae. Okay, second cervical vertebrae. Now the spinous process. Let us see the spinous process of the second. It is bifid. Okay, bifid cervical. This spinous process is there, very short, very strong. Lamina is also very strong. If you will compare the thickness by just palpating this lamina between thumb and finger, then you will see that they are strong and thick. So is the spinous process is also very strong, okay, as compared to the other typical vertebrae. Okay, now the superior articular surfaces are facet, as it is called as. Okay, facet, they are situated lateral to the odontoid process. Okay, they are situated lateral to the odontoid process. That means there is no superior surface of body. Body begins with the inferior surface on its inferior side. And how we will decide the superior and inferior surface of this vertebra? Very easy. Presence of odontoid process is on the superior surface. Two articular facets on the side of the odontoid process, they are also present onto the superior surface. Okay, so you cannot keep the second vertebra like that. This is inferior surface, superior is here. Now the transverse process are small, similar to that of the first. Single tubercle is seen here just like first. But here is the foramina transversorium. Okay, and this foramina transversorium or the foramina of transverse process, on either side it lies just lateral to that, inferior and lateral to that of the superior articular facet. The pedicle, see, this is the pedicle. This is the pedicle right side and pedicle left side, and this lamina which forms the vertebral arch, they are quite strong. Okay, they are very strong and massive as compared to the other typical cervical vertebrae. So there should not be any point, any problem in identification and recognizing the superior and inferior surface of the second cervical vertebrae. Let us come to the seventh cervical vertebrae, and this seventh cervical vertebrae is little atypical and broken from here. I am sorry for that, I could not get the better seventh cervical vertebrae. Okay, this seventh cervical vertebrae is identified because of the presence of a very long, see this in comparison to typical, and here is a long, which is not very long in this case, but you can imagine that there is a very long spinous process which end in a single tubercle, not bifid. And if it is a very long spinous process with single tubercle, then it cannot be anything, and it is horizontally placed. Okay, horizontally placed. That's why, because of the long spinous process, it is called as vertebra prominence, which, and the tip of this seventh cervical vertebrae, it is so long that you can feel it. Okay, when you will try to feel it at the bottom of your neck, okay, with the tracing the finger in the midline, lower down, this will be felt. Other spinous process will not be felt. That's why it is called as the vertebra prominence. It is not bifid and ends in a single tubercle here. Okay, this ends in a single tubercle. So this is a seventh cervical vertebrae. And if you will see the transverse process are long here, but foramina transversarium is small. Of course, in this case, it is not. There are double foramina transversarium I can see here. And though it is broken, you can also see a small foramina transversarium here also. This is the broken open, and a small one is also present in this also. So there may be a small foramina transversarium, and most of the time it is duplicated. There may be two foramina transversarium. Okay. Now, why it is small here in the 7 cervical vertebrae? The reason is that this foramina transversarium doesn't give the passage to that of the vertebral artery. The vertebral artery enters the 6th and then ascend up till the C1, okay, or the first cervi, except to the 7th. In 7th only the vein it is there, and that's why the foramina of the 7th transversarium foramina of 7th is small, okay, and duplicated. Okay, I mean double foramina may also for the venous veins, which are for the veins. So I don't think that there should be any problem in identification of the cervical vertebrae and identifying its part. I will tell you. Now, if suppose examiner has given you this typical cervical vertebrae to you, and then he asks you to identify the number of this vertebrae, you cannot say it as C1 or atlas. Why can you not say it? Just rule it out, because it is not a ring shape. It is having body. In the C1 there was absence of body and it was large and the ring shaped structure. So it is not ring shaped. Okay, it is not ring shaped body, and there is presence of body, so it cannot be C1. So we have ruled out the C1. Then if you compare it with the C2, there is no dentite process here. Very easy. So it cannot be C2 also. And then C7, atypical, very long spinous process. It is not bifid spine. And foramina transversarium may be small. Okay. Here the spinous process is very short and it is bifid. Okay, very short. It is not as compared to that. So you can say that neither it is first nor it is second, and it is also not the seventh. So it is not atypical. It is a typical cervical vertebrae. But when an examiner will give you the cervical first, you should note and identify with the help of its ring shape, and concave facet should be kept upward. When he gives second, you should identify with the presence of odentite process, and odentite process should be kept upward. And when he will give you C7, a long spinous process, okay, will identify that horizontally going backward with a single tubercle at the tip will identify the 7 cervical vertebrae. I hope that you will be able now to understand all the typical. Practice it 2-3 times in your department, and then you will not face any problem. Thank you very much for watching this video.